back in the 90s and back in the 80s. We had some wonderful meetings here in Brisbane. They used to get fiery. We always had lively discussions, and we had big community meetings back then. A few chairs were thrown and things like that. But at the end of the day, we all move on, and it's who we are.
Black Magic Woman podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on. We also acknowledge traditional owners of the land where you, the listener or viewer, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to our elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was Aboriginal land and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Mundanara Bales.
Welcome to another episode of the Black Magic Woman podcast. I am here on the beautiful lands of the Yagara peoples here in Brisbane, which some people refer to as Munyanjin or Mianjin. I've actually grown up in this beautiful city, and I've also grown up with this beautiful elder that you're about to hear from. Uncle Cheg. On this show, I always hand it over to my guest to introduce themselves. So you want to tell these mob what your name is and who your mob is and a little bit about where you grew up.
So my name is Gregory Egert, but as I'm known in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community of Southeast Queensland, Cheg or Uncle Cheg. Simply put, Mundanara. I'm just a black fella from Southeast Queensland whose mobs are Yagara, Gurrumpul and Gubbi Gubbi. And even though as a little fella, I was always taken back to one of my homelands over Strabane Island at least twice a year when my mother and father could afford it. But I grew up in the best suburb within Brisbane or Southeast Queensland, 4077 Inala. Back in the 60s, Mundanara. That's when mob come down or was forced down here to Brisbane to find work and to actually live. And so back there in the 60s and 70s, there's only about a dozen Aboriginal families, and one of those families was mine. And of course my other cousin brother's family, the Charltons and the Coggills, they were there as well. But,
wow. Uncle Cheg, I was just going to say, when I first really got to know you, we were on the board together at the Murray School.
Yep.
So you've had a lot to do with not just the Murray School, but the black community, the Brisbane Blacks community. And I know from being at QUT, you popped up over there as well, and then we're running into each other from the Murray School playground and boardroom to now QUT, playground and meeting rooms, and now you're over at the University of Queensland, like Uncle Cheg. For an old fella, you get around. You're still quite active in community, which I don't think a lot of people actually see what a lot of our people do and how we contribute to our community and to young people.
Yeah, and Mundanara, that's my cultural obligation to mob. My mother and my grandparents, and especially my big sister cousins, they taught me in my 20s that I've got an obligation to who we are. Not just as Gurrumpul people, but as people who are one particular mob amongst 300 throughout this country, And so I've tried since the 90s, been on numerous board of directors of Aboriginal community-owned organisations. I was the youngest member of the ATSEC Regional Council, the first ATSEC Regional Council, in the early 90s for the Brisbane ATSEC Regional Council. But and so, look, even to this day, Mundanara, I'm the chairperson of AAA. on the board at IUE, and so, but that's how I give back to the position that I am in, because all the old people, what I do now, they contributed, and they actually paved the way for people like myself to be really active in my 60s, to be a part of this community, and so. I always remember them because I'll tell a yarn, Mundanara, back in the 90s and back in the 80s. We had some wonderful meetings here in Brisbane.
The Opal Centre?
Yeah, in the black community. Yeah. Over at South Brisbane there, over at West End.
Yeah.
That little church there.
Yes.
And, they used to get fiery. But
is it the blind hall?
Yes, blind hall.
I've heard so many stories, Uncle Cheg. But I'm ready for this yarn.
This one, I think forget what we were meeting about, but we were meeting about something. It was a particular issue. Anyway, because back in the 90s, there was many different mobs that made up the Aboriginal community. Aboriginal and Torres Strait community of Brisbane. And so it was about, making sure that we always had lively discussions, and we had big community meetings back then. A few chairs were thrown and things like that. But at the end of the day, we discussed what we had to discuss, and we moved on.
And you moved on. The community were able to still get on with business, taking care of business, sorting out community issues, even through a few chairs going across the room.
Yeah.
You just got to know how to duck.
Yeah, you just got to duck. But at the end of the day, it's like we all move on, and it's who we are. At the end of the day, we moved on, but look, Mundanara, what I do today, I've been at the Murray School for 22 years. It's one of the best things I've ever done because it keeps me grounded in who I am. It keeps me connected to all our community south of that river, because, as I say, Mundanara, and I shouldn't say it, but all the real blackfellas live on the south side.
The deadly blackfellas, eh?
Yeah.
They say the north side is the dark side. That's what whitefellas say about the south side and the north side.
That's right, and we're all the deadly fellas over there. But look, Mundanara. So I'm still a part of that, but the thing, and of course, I was the inaugural elder. At QUT.
Yeah, the elder in residence.
The elder in residence, the inaugural elder in residence at QUT.
And which way you got headhunted now at UQ?
Yes,
what happened?
Yes, no, I got headhunted at UQ to be at the elder in residence of an exciting new centre. So it's called the ARC Centre of Excellence for Indigenous Futures. So what it is, it's a research centre, Mundanara, but it's the first time in Australia's history that every one of the chief investigators or the chief researchers are Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. And so we research around three themes: education and economies, law and justice, and health and well-being. And in those particular themes, there's several projects underneath them. The point of difference of the way we do business at the centre, and we've been going for 18 months, is that transdisciplinary research. So, when we've got issues within our community, they cover a whole range. They just don't cover one part. Like, we cover health issues, we cover legal issues. And so what we're doing within our research is transdisciplinary research. So we've got a particular project and they will cross each theme. So because when when people have done, or non-Indigenous people have done research within our community, so they're always in them silos of where they come from, or what academy they comes from, right? Or what profession, whether they're, in health or whether
the different schools.
The different schools where ours crosses over. And the other thing that is a point of difference between us and the way non-Indigenous people do research in our communities is our research is community driven. So it's community focused and it's driven by community.
Uncle Cheg, I want to make a really important comment. UQ has probably the highest number of First Nations employees in a university in Australia, I heard. There's a lot of deadly blackfellas there.
Oh, there is.
So who do you get to work with mainly? Is it students or is it...
No, it's the academics.
You work with the academics.
Academics and researchers.
Okay. And what is it like as a older black fella, right, that's grown up in community, now you're navigating these very foreign structures,
Yep.
right, institutions, the academy,
Yep.
UQ, the Sandstone University. How is it for you in terms of your interactions, or how do people kind of respond to you or interact with you? What are some of those experiences like?
Well, Mundanara, let's be blunt, I work in an institute that's institutionally racist against our mob. And so has been for decades and decades and always will be. But the lucky part for me is I work with a lot of our, or 90% of our mob at the university, right? So what happens is I have a mentoring role with these new generations of academics. I find it very exciting, Mundanara, because the way they think and the way they think about, and they all, when they're doing research, they're all very focused on making sure that their research is not just liaison with the community, but getting the community goals to drive the research that the community wants. Because the days of non-Indigenous researchers going out to community, this is my little project and I need your input. And I'm thinking, now I work with young people that focus in on making sure that the goals of the community drive the actual research. And that's a good thing.
Well, it's like you don't find that much, do you?
No.
In these universities, you don't find where you've got community as the focus, community-driven, centred around community.
Yeah.
And the outcomes are for the betterment of the community, not just for that individual or the institution.
No. And look, Mundanara, one of the and I wasn't a part but one of the main goals is about for our centre, for the research. And I always say to our young people within the centre, look, the real outcomes of what you're going to do and the research that you're going to do with our community, I will not see, right? Because it's about the future generations and it's about changing policy and it's about making sure that our next generations, our children's children, don't have to live with what we live with today. Yeah.
Uncle, when you think about the next generation that are coming through the ranks, and in particular we're focusing on discussions at this Human Rights Summit here in Brisbane, right, in
Yep.
this moment. And you're on this amazing panel talking with other elders. But there's been lots of discussions about what are we doing to ensure that the next generation can do what they need to do without all of these challenges. How are we removing some of these barriers to be able to then hand that baton over to the next generation to keep going, but without having to always struggle or to fight?
Yeah.
Right? Some of those conversations have been about the future generations.
Yeah, it has.
And legacy and what we hope and what we want to see. What's your thoughts around future generations?
Well, I sometimes I have some sleepless nights, Mundanara, because I worry about things like AI, and I worry about what actually our identity as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is going to look like with those technological influences on our mobs, you know. But in saying that, I've been at the Murray School for 22 years, and I see the little fellas from when they're 4 years old right up until they're ready to leave 18. And I see if you create a vision, if you create in their minds that they belong, not just within their communities, but they belong in this big world. And if you create that vision, they will do what they want to do, but also they won't just be blocked by hurdles that we've been blocked by. They're going to smash them simply because I firmly believe in these next generations. They are going to be up and going and ready to do stuff. And we just got to give them tools, show them the way, and make sure that there's pathways that they can follow to deliver what they got to do to the generations that come after them.
And some of these young people listen to this podcast, Uncle Cheg. So if you look at that camera there, you're going to be talking directly to these mob, especially on YouTube, knowing that there is a massive audience listening to this yarn. What advice do you want to give these young people? What words of wisdom or encouragement do you want to share with them about anything, about life, university, school, culture, community?
Yeah. Look, Mundanara, our mob know and our children know that we are the oldest continuous race on this planet.
It's been proven scientifically for all you haters out there that keep arguing with us.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But we are a part of that. That land that is underneath this carpet, that river out there, they have stories. They're a part of our creation stories. They're the bloodline of who we are and have been for the last 65,000 years. You know, that's what I want to remind people, that we have a story to tell. And we do share. We always have shared. But we got to get our non-Indigenous people just to listen.
Not asking for much, are we, Uncle Cheg?
No, we're not. No, we're not. When I talk and I give advice to a whole range of people, it's about, not just about the stories that have been given to me, it's about my life experience and what my life experience has taught me. And I pass that on simply because it's not just for our mob, but our people and our mobs. We are the soul of this country. We are the soul of this country. Soon as the rest of this place they call Australia understands that and actually embrace it, then this place will be a better place.
Uncle Cheg is a former student of the Murray School, and the logo that you're wearing on that jacket I was a student when that logo was designed.
Yeah.
I was one of the first students to put on the Murray School uniform, and I wore that uniform with pride. I've been on the board for probably 12 years.
Yeah.
And I use, that position I don't take lightly either.
No.
But I just want to say, Uncle Cheg, I actually want to take this opportunity to say thank you on behalf of the Murray School kids in particular, and our whole community, for your sacrifices, your contribution. Every day you're doing something every day. I don't know how you keep doing it and getting up and, having these conversations, Uncle, that would wear most people down. But there's something within us black fellas that just keeps us going. But you're right. We need to we need to lighten the load. We need to share the burden of the last 250 years. And I want people that are listening to this, especially non-Indigenous people listening to this yarn, there is something for all of us, for every single one of you. There is something for you to do, to participate in, to contribute to volunteer. There's, communities that need resources. There are communities and organisations that need people to do some volunteering, to access pro bono legal studies or legal advice and stuff like that. I want people to really think about how are they contributing to make this country a much more unified Australia and bring us back together again, and hopefully show the future generations the power of community, the power of people coming together. We're pretty deadly when it comes to relationships and managing conflict or keeping families together and communities together. But this one's been a bit of a hurdle for us in terms of colonisation and the impacts of colonialism and past government policies. But I just want to say, Uncle, I hope you enjoy the rest of this deadly summit. It's been so good to see you here, and I feel really privileged and honoured to be able to have you on the Black Magic Woman podcast.
Thank you, Mundanara. And look, Mundanara, thank you for thanking me. But my contribution is all about the mob, and it's who I am, and it's who I am until the day I'm gone, until I'm an owl in that tree just down the road here, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah.
Well, what a way to sum it up. When I see that owl, I'll be thinking of you, Uncle. For all the listeners, thank you for tuning in. And I knew you'd be in for an absolute treat listening to one of our precious elders here in this beautiful place called Mundanara. So I hope you enjoyed this deadly yarn. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you.
If you'd like any more info on today's guest, please visit our show notes in the episode description. A big shout out to all you Deadly Mob and allies who continue to listen, watch and support our podcast. Your feedback means the world. You can rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify, or even head to our socials and YouTube channel and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. The Black Magic Woman podcast is produced by Clint Curtis.